Hello, my name is Alan, and my pronouns are he, him, and today I'm facilitating the second of 4 sessions of The Between, Jason Cordova's new game of Gothic horror in Victorian London. This is set in about 1870, and it follows the activities of the people who live at Hargrave House, the hunters who protect London and the realm from all manner of liminal, shadowy, supernatural, and other threats. This game is organised as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, please check out session 1 or just search gauntlet-rpg.com and come and find out about us. We'd love to have more people come and play online with us. Because we think we're great. No, we think that the games that are run here and the players are really high quality, so we'd encourage you to come and join. I'm not going to say anything more about the game really, because if you want to hear more about the kind of cats, the concept, aims, tone, and then anything else, check out the first video in this series. I will say that we are playing with a set of safety tools. All of these players and our 4th player, who is joining us shortly, fingers crossed, are regular Gauntleteers and so are very familiar with the way we use safety tools, but we are playing within the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. We are playing with an open door, so if anything happens in the world beyond this computer screen, then people are very welcome to go and deal with it. They're also very welcome to use the open door if this turns out not to be the game they thought it was going to be, or if they need to just take a breather, just step away from the game for whatever reason, that's fine. We'd like to know if they're coming back, but we'll carry on regardless. And that is open to me as well, if for anything crops up in the real world here. It did last time, strangely, as I've been discussing this, but there we go. And we're also playing with lines and veils. Lines are things that will not crop up in the fiction, and I will just point the players at the safety tab. We are playing with lines on bullying, disease, homophobia, transphobia, pandemic and plague, racism, sexual assault and sexual violence, and slavery. Those things will not crop up in the fiction. We're also playing with some veils, so these could crop up in the fiction, but we will draw a discrete veil so they're not on screen. And the current veils are harm to children, harm to pets and domestic animals, mind control, sexism, sexual content, suicide and torture. And as an additional kind of safety net, we're also, there's an ask first arrangement. So if I think that we're going somewhere, if anybody else wants to include a bit of fiction around these things, they will check in with the table first. And that is eye injuries, graphic injuries and gore. Those are the 2. And the things that we are interested, and this could be quite tricky given we've got ask first on gore, but we have an interest, someone around this table has an interest in body horror, and I'm interested in seeing the class divide in this Victorian London play out. And that doesn't mean we've got it down on chambers. So those are the safety rules. The final one is the X card. If none of those other safety tools hit the spot, then the X card will bring the narrative to a pause. I may ask a player how far back in the fiction they want me to rewind, and then hopefully I'll play forward and avoid the material that made them feel uncomfortable in a bad way. And I will just say to the players, just because you don't play the X card the first time something comes up, doesn't mean you cannot play it if it comes up again, okay? The X card is there to be used. I will ask all of you, because I don't tend to notice the chat as much as I should, if you prefer to put it in the chat rather than making the X, if anybody else sees it, please draw my attention to it. Okay, that's my blurb done, I think. Let's meet our players and their characters. We'll start, I must remember to keep checking participants, so I let Ollie in when he comes. Let's start, Blake. I will go left to right on the character keeper. Blake, say hello and introduce us to Razor Rose Roberts.
G'day, I'm Blake, he, him. I'm currently playing Razor Rose Roberts, she, her, the American. He's got a deep and very secret. But it might not be secret for very long. So it goes. But yeah, she's a troubleshooter to help the rest. She's the brawn, not the brains.
She last time she displayed a talent of relating to a family dog and to a baby.
And a ghost.
And a ghost. Yes. Yeah, to the point where it strangled her. Let's move along. Leandro, say hello and introduce us to Chambers, our factotum.
Yes, hi, my name is Leandro. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing the aforementioned Chambers, she, her pronouns, who is the factotum, who is a servant employed by one of the main characters. That's why she doesn't get a first name. She's just Chambers. I guess out of pretty much everyone here, she's the most down to earth in that there doesn't seem to be anything supernatural about her. She's just weirdly competent and kind of mysterious. To the point where her plan of attack for last session was to get a second job in the house being investigated. That's gone well so far. She's shown some skills in being a servant, but had a run in with a rather creepy boy.
Of which more shortly, yes, a creepy boy in a sailor suit. And you are employed by, and if I've got this right, our next character as we go left to right. David, say hello and introduce us to Dr. Victor Weiss.
Yeah, hi, my name's David. I use he, him pronouns. And yeah, tonight I am playing Dr. Victor Weiss, who is a medical doctor, starting to develop an interest in the new science of alienism, and also alongside his medical and investigative duties within Hargrave House, is also working on a project to create life in the basement.
Yeah, I just tacked that on the end of the description of Dr. Weiss's vices. And last time, unfortunately, David couldn't be with us, so we will be introduced to Victor Weiss on screen for the first time this time round. And finally, and thanks for being so swift, Ollie, much appreciated. Ollie, say hello, introduce yourself, and tell us about our vessel, Annie Morrish.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ollie. My pronouns are he or they, and I am playing Annie Morrish, who is a vessel. She has always been of interest to dark outside powers, and she's able to command such dark outside powers via blood sacrifice. And she is the worst. I think we can agree from last time. She's a pretty consummate liar and a pretty constant liar as well. And she's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, she told a lot of lies, and only really at the very end did poor Mrs. Beale begin to rumble. So yeah, so last time the hunters from Hargrave House investigated a haunting at St. James Street, and we ended last time with Annie Morrish and Rose kind of being shown the door. Annie's pretense at being an employment agent, trying to help the family fill the hole left in their lives by the sudden and unexplained death of their former maid, Ginny. That finally wore thin, and they were shown the door, where they met Mr. Beale, returning with his son, Roger, holding his hand as Roger wore a sailor suit. This is an 9-year-old boy. At the same time, Chambers was upstairs in one of the bedrooms with an 8 or 9-year-old boy in a sailor suit, having a conversation about what was going on in the house. And I think that at the point that we hear the door open downstairs, the little boy in the sailor suit that's been speaking to you, Chambers, leaves the room, and you hear footsteps running up the staircase towards the attic. And I think that Rose and Annie will at the same time see the little boy in the sailor suit who has arrived with Mr. Beale running upstairs towards the attic in his sailor suit. That I think is as close to an explanation as we're going to get before you leave. This is a game with very tight phases of the day. So we are at this point going to end the day phase. Day phase is broadly free role play. We're now going to enter the dusk phase, which has as all the phases do, but a very precise structure. So resolve any playbook moves or custom moves that are resolved during the dusk phase. So I'm going to assume at this point, Chambers, that you have returned to Hargrave House. Whether you go back to the Beales house tomorrow as their new trial maid, we'll talk about when we get that far. But right now, we're all back at Hargrave House. So, and I think that there is a rather clever ploy in this character keeper, which at the dusk phase, it highlights any move that that plays at dusk. And so as I look across these, I notice Rose, the quickening. Yep. You live with a curse that causes you to become a savage, even feral creature to the point where your body physically changes. At the start of the dusk phase, roll with composure or sensitivity, your choice. What would you wish to roll with?
Probably composure.
Okay. So you are rolling +1 to see.
Actually, you know what? Was that ghost? It was strangling me, wasn't it?
Yes.
Last time. Okay, so maybe I'm a little bit rattled, so I'm going to roll with sensitivity.
Well, that's interesting, you see, because I was going to invoke the complication of your condition of a bruised throat to cover that rattle. So I'm going to make you roll at disadvantage.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, we'll roll with composure.
I think that probably fits. I think that probably fits.
Okay. I think I had the brown ones. So, oh, hang on. No. Just that.
So 3 dice, take the bottom 2. Oh, this could be worse.
So 8.
8. On 7 to 9, you manage to keep the quickening in check, but just barely. Take the following condition, drained. So will you add the condition drained to your list to the existing condition? And so what is this? What do we see on screen that suggests the quickening almost got you, Rose?
I think I was kind of staggering to my room and I really start to shake. I probably sit on the end of the bed for a bit as I'm watching my hands shake a bit. And I'm just trying to control my breathing. And then I'll get my coat and say, I'm just going to go out. I'm going to go and get some raw meat.
Well, we'll worry about that in a moment. At this point, I just wanted to get a flavor of what just getting a grip on this, why you become drained. That's solid. Thank you. The keeper poses a paint your scene question about Hargrave House to the players. So if you scroll down that phase switching tab on the character keeper, on the hunter tab, you will find the reception hall. So I'm curious. Let me start with Rose, because you've just had this experience.
Sorry, which tab are we looking at?
Oh, sorry, you're in the hunter tab, and it's the very far left. It's column AB of the hunter tab. And if you scroll down to row 40-ish, you will find Hargrave House, paint the scene, dusk.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. So Rose, do you feel unsettled or at home when you enter Hargrave House?
Unsettled.
What do you perceive in the reception hall that reinforces this feeling?
It's sort of, I don't know, there's like wooden, not poles, but there's like wooden edgings along the walls and the corners, and there's buttresses on everything. It all looks nicely artificial and man-made, so it doesn't feel natural at all. I like being out in the wilderness and stuff. That's where I'm comfortable.
Okay, so it feels unnatural.
This is a gilded cage to me.
A gilded cage. I like that. Okay. Let's move along to Chambers. Chambers, what about you? What do you feel about the reception hall at Hargrave House? Does it make you feel unsettled or at home?
I think at home.
And what is it about it that makes you feel at home?
Yeah, there is a lot of like it is big and man-made and may look like a cage, but to someone who's used to like slipping around, not being noticed, something that big just gives you more place to hide, to slip through. Um, it's a place I feel utterly at home with because I feel like I'm on home turf. Um, this is this is a hall that's kind of meant to intimidate because it's the reception hall because Hargrave House has to be intimidating, I guess. But
So why aren't you intimidated?
because I'm used to places like these. It's a lot of show.
Okay, so this feels you have a place here. Is that what we're getting at?
Which is in a corner or knowing where one of the not secret doors, but because it's like so built up, it's hard to even like see where all the doors are. But I know where they are.
Or let's just there are hidden doors. Let's just yeah, I know I want to see Chambers emerge from a wall panel between two of these carved wooden pillars that unnerve Rose because they remind her of some kind of cage. Oh yeah, I like that. Thank you. Let's move along to Dr. Weiss. Dr. Weiss, the reception hall at Hargrave House, do you feel comfortable or not here?
Yeah, I think it is ironic that Dr. Weiss feels at home here because it doesn't feel very homely. There's something about the kind of the tiled floor of the reception hall, the big ceiling, the way the sort of his footsteps echo off of the tiles as he enters, that kind of gives this place more of that institutional feel. And Dr. Weiss is probably much more at home in institutions than more comfortable surroundings.
And I asked this of some of the other characters last time, Dr. Weiss. How long have you been at Hargrave House?
I think Dr. Weiss has been here for maybe a couple of years at this point. I think perhaps he's not always been as involved in the actual going out and confronting the darkness side of things. If we looked at this in terms of like a kind of a TV series and it's like third season or whatever, he was maybe a kind of supporting character in the first two kind of thing.
Fine. So he may have been a side character who has now fully come into the Hargrave House community. Okay, that's fine. And I'm just curious, you talked about, the kind of, I'm imagining some kind of marble tiled floor. Is it simply, black and white institutional squared tiles, or is it more ornate than that? I'm curious.
I think it's a bit more ornate than that. I think that it is, it has slightly more patterned edging around the room, though it is predominantly black and white. But then in the very center, there is, I think the kind of the coat of arms of whether it's the coat of arms of Hargrave House or just whichever noble was the first to actually commission the building of Hargrave House, I think is a question lost to time. But yeah.
Like that, thank you. And finally, Annie, do you feel comfortable, when you come back, you've had this day of exploring this haunting, you come back to Hargrave House, is there a sense of, I'm home, or is it unsettling to come back here?
No, it's unsettling. Annie doesn't feel at home anywhere because she's lived most of her life on the run from place to place, and she's conscious that this is just sort of like another stop along the road. And the thing that reminds her of that is there are portraits of past members of Hargrave House up on the walls, portraits like in very sort of like glamorous frames. But they're all portraits of people who are no longer there, so they've either died or left or been expelled or whatever. So there's a constant reminder that this is only temporary, as is everything in her life.
Oh, yes, right. Yeah, transitory. You serve your purpose. You move on or are moved on. Who knows? Who knows? I like that a lot. Thank you. Okay, so we begin to develop a sense of Hargrave House and some of its background. Now, each player now says what their hunter will be doing during the upcoming night phase. So this is when you tell me what you plan to do with the night phase. I will go round once and then I will come back to check with each of you whether you've changed your mind on the basis of what somebody else has said. I will remind you that you cannot resolve a threat during the day phase. So if you want to resolve a threat or answer a question related to the current case, you can't do that in the day phase. So let's go to Rose. Rose, how do you talked about going out in search of raw meat. Is that what you want to do with your night phase?
Yeah, I'm going to ask the mother, the doctor, the mother, if how the finances are doing, and if they need someone leaned on, I can go and question them or rough them up or whatever, and make sure our bills are getting paid. And while I'm doing that, I'll get some raw meat and some dried meat.
So you want to. The way the night phase works is you have one scene to define, really.
Oh, okay.
So is it? There's a move in the rules, and I'll just read it. It is called the vulnerable move, and it is the way that you recover conditions. So if the principal objective tonight is to recover one of those conditions, then the vulnerable move is the way you would go. When you have an intimate moment with another hunter while one of you is engaged in your vice, you may clear an appropriate condition. If it's your vice, you can also blah. Yeah. So I'm at the minute, I'm assuming you are intending to indulge your vice for raw meat.
Yes, I'm going to get some dried meat as well, but yeah, I'll go and get both while I'm shopping. Come on.
Okay. Okay. And I'll come back and check in with you whether any of that changes when the others have been through. So let's go along to Chambers. Chambers, how do you plan to spend the night phase?
I'm going to engage my informals and dig up info about this family. These Beals?
Beals.
Yes. Let's see which one of these.
Well, no, I want to. That's what you want to do with the night. This is just telling me what you're going to do.
Yes.
And again, I'll come back to you to check in. Moving to Victor. Victor, how do you imagine spending the night?
I think that I want to call on Mr. Beale and have a discussion with him about the recent events.
Fine. So you're going to go to see Mr. Beale. And finally, Annie, how do you imagine spending the night phase?
Yeah, so from both a scene point of view and a kind of metagaming point of view, we have enough clues to answer one of the questions. So I would like to try and answer one of the questions and resolve one of the threats by performing a ritual to probably... so the question is, which part of the house is the ghost attached to? So I would like to try and answer that question, then perform a ritual in scene to make that happen.
Fine. So I think I'm clear what everyone's going to do. Do you intend? I just need to be clear, Annie. Does that involve you going back to 18 James Street with Dr. Weiss, or does that involve you just considering what you have learned while you were at Hargrave House?
Oh, okay. Well, I suppose we could because we all answer the question together, don't we, anyway?
Yes.
And then once that's there, I would maybe like to go back with Dr. Weiss and perform a ritual at their house.
Okay. So you're hoping to answer a question and then resolve a threat.
Can we do both?
It's an interesting question. I think what I need you to do is to go there with Dr. Weiss, and then while all of us will be involved in phrasing our our answering the question, I will come to Dr. Weiss and Annie first. Probably Annie, because you had experience of the questions to start the ball rolling. Yeah, does that make sense?
That's good.
Okay. And then where am I? Dusk. I don't think we have any outstanding Janus moves, so let us instead introduce the unseen. And you will find a tab marked London at Night, and this has got nothing to do with the current threat. Let me stress that. This is simply that point in the movie where we begin to get a flavour of the underside of London. And I would like to start with the one, you'll find it on F41, The Cult of the Pig. And the way this works is that I will ask one of you a question, and then you can paint the scene, and that then will then cut to you to have your scene, your night scene, and then I'll move on and move round. But before I do that, I do want to check in. Rose, have you changed your mind about what you want to do, or is this just going out shopping for raw meat? I'll remind you that you will need the company of a hunter to share your vice with. Yeah, if you check out the wording of that move, simply eating raw meat will not be enough.
Okay.
You could maybe take Chambers, and we could have a couple of like pairings.
That's what I've done before. So is there someone that you want to be involved in that vice? Because the idea is if nobody sees you do the vice, there's no comfort in it.
It's rather exhibitionist point of view, isn't it? It's just she would probably be the last person I would share that vice with. It, and that's it's just because I would envision the other two being more appropriate.
The way fictionally I imagine this working is that it is you revealing yourself to another character, and in doing so, revealing yourself to our fictional audience.
I guess it would be, let's go shopping, we'll get stuff for the house, and then when we get back, I'll eat the meat while we're chatting, and
that works for me. So each of you will lead on a scene. I don't mind if it involves another character. Yeah, but each of you will set one scene. So Rose, let's start with that, where you and Chambers have gone out. What's the name of your butcher, Rose?
William Baker. He's sort of balding, but he's got a moustache, a little bit chubby. Always has a messy apron. Doesn't ask questions. Happy to give, whatever meat you want. Some of us, this is chicken, although it could be rat, cat. Who knows?
Okay, so this is a disreputable butcher.
Yeah, well, not according to him, but you can see it's not it's not quality stuff.
Chambers, what's your view of William Baker, the disreputable butcher? Because this is not the butcher that Hargrave House deals with.
No, I know that butcher. They're slightly more reputable. I think Mr. Baker is bad. He's not a baker, which makes things even more confusing. Unless he sells pies on the side.
I mean, he does sell pies, but he doesn't make them.
That's confusing.
Can I make a quick suggestion a sec?
Mm-hmm.
Blake, you said that Rose wouldn't want to take Chambers with her.
No, it's not. It's more about sharing the meat because she seems the most sort of prim and proper. Why would I eat meat in front of her?
Well, this is
Oh,
what
no.
I was thinking. So, and Chambers is otherwise out engaging their what's it called?
Informals.
Your informals. How about if she just like catches you at it,
Yeah, that's possible too.
rather than you going together? Is all I was going to say.
Yeah, let's be clear. When you have an intimate moment with another hunter while one of you is engaged in your vice, there is no
So it could be-
obligation for Chambers to engage in raw meat.
Yeah. So it could be, we're shopping at a few different places, and while we're doing that, Chambers is talking to their informals, and at one point, they're talking a while, and I'm like, I can't wait anymore, and I'll start scoffing the meat, and then, Chambers sees me.
Chambers, what's your reaction as you notice first kind of Rose, maybe there's some blood leaking out of the wrapping on the meat, and you notice her hand is bloody. What's your reaction?
Chambers sighs, pulls out a handkerchief, starts dabbing at Rose's mouth and saying, "We're out in the open. Miss Rose, is this necessary?"
You see the look in her eyes, sort of, oh, you're right, because you're so focused on the meat, and she puts it back and kind of wipes her hands, and yes, you're right. Sorry.
Which condition does that clear, Rose?
Well, I can't see how it would clear Bree's throat, so probably drained.
Fine.
The smell kicks in my endorphins. I'm like, feeling energized again.
Fine. If it's your vice, and it is, Rose, you can also stumble on a clue, tell the keeper what it is. The clue cannot conclusively answer a question by itself, or invite the other hunter to ask you about your past. You must answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely. Which would you like to do, Rose?
More interesting that you can invite me and ask me about my past. I'll say, I didn't mean to disturb you. I needed this. I really needed this.
You needed this right now, right at this moment when eyes dart around. Others can see this. You're lucky it's only me here, Miss Rose.
What happened earlier was unexpected, and I needed something.
Has this appetite of yours caused trouble in the past, Miss Rose?
More than once, I'm afraid to say.
How recently?
Things about the lunar calendar, about 3 weeks ago.
Is this something you will come clean to the rest of Hargrave House, Miss Rose?
In time, but you're right, we should go somewhere else.
Chambers finishes like dabbing the blood out of your mouth.
I would appreciate your discretion, and in return, I've got your back. I'll protect you and do what I can to assist you.
And of course, I got this flip side round. So now the cult of the pig, a secretive cult dedicated to the pagan swine god Moch, has gathered in a fashionable salon on this holy night to make offerings to their porcine deity. Rose, how has this otherwise sumptuously decorated salon been changed to make it a ritual space dedicated to an ancient pagan pig god?
That's a salon, so I guess instead of mannequins with different wigs, it's got big pigs' heads with different sort of fruit on the tusks and that. Jesus, sounds like a DCC module.
Fine. Okay, thank you. I will roll straight on, I think, to Chambers, given that we've got that pair at work here. So Chambers, at this meeting of the cult of the pig god, Moch demands a sacrifice of riches. What does the cult offer him? Describe the manner of the offering.
I think for this night, the cult has decided to offer gifts of vision to the pig deity, for it to better see into the world. And this gift, the sacrifice, comes in the form of eyes. And
now, can I just do want to check in?
Oh yeah.
We have an ask first on eye injuries. I just want to make sure if everyone's okay with eyes being offered.
Yeah. We'll clarify that they're eyes from the cultists. These are self-sacrificed eyes.
Oh my God.
That's okay. If it's
wow, yeah. I mean, no, I definitely want, I know that I will ask first if anyone is concerned about silver teaspoons and eye sacrifice, but I think that yeah, we see eyes being sacrificed. Let's not go anymore if that's in our list. Oh, gee whiz. Okay, let's now move to your scene proper, Chambers. Now, the way that the informals work, you could invoke them at any time you like. You skim money from Hargrave House accounts in order to maintain a network of spies and enforcers across London. When you put out a word that you need help from someone in your network, select one of them from the list below and roll with presence. So who are you interested in? The only characteristic these people have is alive or dead.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna invoke my governess friend, Velma Fenwicket. Who his character is pretty, usually stern, always tired. Maybe they know something about the maybe they've worked in the Beals. Who knows? First, let's roll to see how they're doing.
Let's see how they're doing. But before you roll the dice, I want to know, where do you normally meet Velma? Set the scene for me.
Yeah, I think it is going to be in a pub. This is like this is when Velma's like put the kids to bed, and wants to just take a load off their shoulders. I have to come up with the name of a pub. No, the first example in my head is a Lord of the Rings pub. Nope. Can't do that.
Why not?
I mean, it's the Prancing Pony. Who knows the Prancing Pony? That's where they first end up and leave Hobbiton. I shan't allow it.
Okay. You don't want anything unfortunate to happen at the Prancing Pony? It's not like that it's infested with dark creatures of the other world?
Nope. Ooh, sorry, I just look at the name generator. The Terrible Tigers. There we go.
Oh, the Terrible Tigers.
It's called that because the sign at the front has a bunch of badly painted tigers.
Oh, so it's actually called the Tigers, but it's known locally as the Terrible Tigers. Okay, I like that. And so you're sat there with a drink in front of you. What's your normal tipple, Chambers? I can't remember.
Ooh, it's brandy.
So there you are with the best brandy that Terrible Tigers can churn out. I wonder if Velma makes it. So roll plus presence, please.
Can I say part of the reason why people say it's the Terrible Tigers because their eyes are proper goofy, like googly eyes paintings. It's adorable. All right, roll these. 2d6. 7. That's an 8. Sorry, I'm just used to like Forge of the Dark these days, so I just saw the 6. I'm like, yes. Wait, no. Wait, no, I've got to add these up.
On a 7 to 9, they show up right away and do as you wish. Any roles associated with actions they help you with are taken at advantage. But they take like that, but on a 7 to 9, they take a while to show up, or they want something in exchange for your help. So this is a conversation about what does she know about the Beals of St. James Street?
Yes, specifically about the kids.
Yeah, but does she know you as Miss or Mrs. Chambers?
I think just Chambers. I think like I've not thought of a first name.
No, that's no.
All right, no, it's actually no, I think
we
Chambers
never
with
hear
C.
your first
Yeah,
name.
yeah. Maybe C. Just the letter C.
So she just calls you Chambers.
Yeah.
Oh, Chambers, look, I'm in a desperate hurry. There's one of the children is ill. What do you want?
Since you're in a hurry, I want to know if you know anything about the Beals children. Those at St. James.
Oh, bloody hell. Look, will you come back with me? I just need your help with there's that linctus you used to make. It'll just help the child's sleep.
Well, I think at this point maybe Chambers is as part of the favor to do not tell Rose has sent Rose back with the groceries through our grave house. If you're okay with that.
Oh yeah. I mean that's fine. These, we're in the world of fiction. Any sense of time continuity is loose at best. So I think I want to engage with a night move, because this could be embarrassing if it goes horribly wrong, couldn't it? So when you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve. What could go wrong with you being smuggled into a house where you don't work to help put a child to sleep?
Getting caught and embarrassing myself and Velma, for sure.
The keeper will tell you how it is worse than you fear. I think that her new employers, her current employers, are a particular nasty couple who have no hesitation in calling for police involvement. So if this goes particularly badly, then you could face spending a night in the cells. Okay.
I've got a job to do. Yeah, I'm going ahead.
Okay, so which is your appropriate ability for this, do you think?
I think since I'm from what you said, like I'm putting together a tincture of some sort to help. I think this is going to be reason.
Makes sense to me. And I will just remind you all, you can always invoke some aspect of your personal quarters if you want to gain advantage.
Should have done that. It's fine. I don't I don't think the child would want a hand of glory or some antiquated surgical tools.
Just wanted to put it on the table that this is in fact a magical, hand of glory kind of thing.
Could be. I got a 9.
Fine. 7 to 9. There's a complication. Oh, sorry, no. 7 to 9. You do it or hold steady, but there is a complication or cost. The keeper describes what it looks like.
I invoke the mask of the past.
By all means. Let's look at your mask of the past. Which bit do you want to reveal about yourself?
Yeah, narrate a flashback to your young childhood, before you were a servant, that shows your most significant professional triumph. What
was your profession before you went into service?
Yeah, God, I had a far more gothic idea involved burning down a house, but that's not really professional, is it?
It is if you're an arsonist.
No, this is that's
or an enforcer for a slum landlord. I can go on.
Well, now that you're giving me those ideas,
Professional should come in commas. None of us think that you were a lawyer in young adulthood. What do we see?
I think let's go with that. I think it is a house in a fairly cultivated cul-de-sac in London that's just like burnt out. And I think we see like a bunch of laborers have like gotten out a lot of like antique stuff, like there's a beautiful clock, some paintings, they're scorched but still there. And there is a man on his knees watching this house burn. I think it's an old man in his like late 50s ish, which is I guess old for this period.
Thank you, Leandro. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, on his knees, watching, looking devastated. I think like there's like as he's watching, I think these two policemen can come up and haul him up and drag him to like a I guess a carriage where they put them in.
A Black Mariah, which is a prison transport.
Mm. Yeah, and then you notice like those laborers are like requisitioning all this stuff. And I think like Chamber, you see a quite young Chambers, like prime YA protagonist material, age Chambers, watching from the alleyway, kind of like just looking more murderous and more angry and satisfied, I think, than we've seen.
And how do we connect this to her professional triumph? How do we know? Did she? It's not clear to me yet in that scene.
Yes.
How we know she set that fire.
Yeah, I think besides maybe her clothes are a bit smoke stained, I think like she's not just playing with matches, that's ridiculous. I think like someone behind in the alley kind of like pats her on the shoulder and tells her well done.
A shadowy figure from her past that may be revealed later. So she has a dangerously criminal background is what we learned from that. Thank you. So that improves this to go like clockwork. So the child is put to sleep, and this allows you and Velma to spend a little time over a couple of glasses of sherry in her room in the house before she smuggles you out, asking about the Beals. I mean, this sounds like the information move, Chambers.
Cool.
If I'm not much mistaken.
Yeah. I'm ready to roll that. This might be with presence this time, since this is talking with Velma. Let's see. Ooh, that's a 6.
Well.
Oh no.
On a hit.
I just went, did you roll with advantage,
Oh.
Leandro?
Because remember, you roll with advantage with your informals.
No, I have not. Sorry.
Then re-roll the lowest dice.
Yes.
There you
Okay,
go.
yes, there we go. So that's a 9.
This is why you are an employee. So that is 8, 9. On a 7 to 9, there's a complication either with the clue itself or a complication you encounter while searching. The keeper will tell you what the complication is. I think that the complication is only that. She tells you that the rumors are that it's an arranged marriage gone awry. That's what the word, when governesses meet, and they haven't had a governess. The governess left after that maid died. And then there is a knock on the door as her employer, Mr. Vindick, knocks on the door and says, "Velma, are you awake?"
Chambers just gives her like a knowing look.
And I think that she ushers you into the child's room, the adjoining room, while you hear conversation and then the creaking of bed springs next door. That's sufficiently creepy for me. Let us move along. Now, I think that the way to play this is to start with Dr. Weiss, because Dr. Weiss, I think, wants to engage with Mr. Beale. And then can you add that clue, an arranged marriage gone awry, to the list of clues? Oh, great, thank you. And then we'll have as many clues on the table as possible for Annie to get the ball rolling in terms of what might be going on here and where. Does that seem fair? Okay, so Dr. Weiss. Now, Annie, I'm going to suggest that you are not part of this interview because, of course, your reputation in the Beale house, unless you want to be there, but that is a complication. It's going to put you at disadvantage.
No, I was thinking that maybe Dr. Weiss could introduce me as his medium friend later, and then I would turn up and it would be me, and it'd be, hi, it's me.
Fine.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Fine. Okay, Dr. Weiss. The pretext that the others used to get across the threshold, rather than just declaring we have an interest in your haunting, was various and complicated. But I'm interested, Dr. Weiss, on what is, when you knock at the door and a sweaty, unkempt cook, Mrs. Thicket, comes to the door and says, "Oh, God, blimey, not more bloody visitors. Oh, sorry, sir."
That's quite all right. Is Mr. Beale in, please? My name is Dr. Victor Weiss. I am here to speak with him.
And presumably you have a card.
I do indeed.
And she takes the card and then realizes, oh damn, I should have brought the little silver salver. So she goes into the hall, puts the card on the silver salver and goes into the sitting room, leaving you in the hall. And there's a short delay, and then she opens the door and says, "Mr. Beale will see you, Doctor."
Thank you. And he'll follow in.
I think actually I'm going to put you in the dining room because I don't think we've been in the dining room yet. So it's more interesting if you're meeting away from Mrs. Beale. So the dining room features a long polished table that could seat up to 8, a curio cabinet and serving trolley. Does Mrs. Beale have splendid taste or rather disappointing taste, Dr. Weiss, based on what you see in the dining room?
I think that Mrs. Beale has definitely not splendid taste. I would say it is somewhat disappointing. It's not so much disappointing in the sense that what's disappointing about it is that she's clearly trying to trying to make it look like they're better off and so forth than they actually are, and because it's kind of cheap imitations of more expensive stuff, it just looks a bit tacky. Whereas if I think there's a couple of like spots, a couple of just little bits and pieces, maybe the odd painting or something that actually looks quite nice and is set up well. And it's like if they actually focused on just trying to make it look nice rather than trying to look like the dining room of a much wealthier person, it probably would have looked a lot better.
And because I just get too excited by the scenes you're setting, I have, of course, forgotten to go back to the Cult of the Pig. So before we go any further, Dr. Weiss, Moch demands a sacrifice of status. What, as we return to that salon where eyes have been offered to these pigs' heads on mannequins, what does the cult offer him as a sacrifice of status, and how is it offered?
Yeah, I think we see a gentleman, quite tall, quite broad, wearing fine tailcoat and silk top hat. He has some sort of sash on, and a kind of chain around his neck. He's probably it's sort of the probably the livery of one of the worshipful companies, or something of a similar nature. Looks, absolutely kind of spotless and immaculate in his presentation. And he goes down before the kind of the central altar in the salon, and there's just a space in front of the altar that is just covered in muck and slop, and he just goes down and rolls in this muck in front of the altar. Is just everything about him is just caked in it.
Oh, disgusting. Thank you for that. So let us go back to Mr. Beale, who invites you to sit. Oh, do sit, Dr. Weiss. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit?
Thank you, Mr. Beale. Most kind of you. He'll take the seat and say, I am sorry to intrude on you unannounced like this, but it has been brought to my attention that there is some interest in the supposed haunting here at your house. It is something of an area of expertise of mine, and I thought, without putting you to too much trouble, I would come here and have a word with you about the experiences that you ever had. Is that quite all right?
I frankly, Doctor, I had hoped that the article would have yielded a visit from someone as educated to yourself already, but you are the first person to have responded in this way. And he's clearly referring to the article in the Illustrated Police News that set Hargrave House on this one.
I see. I must admit, it was one of my colleagues who brought the matter to my attention. But yes, I am somewhat of an investigator into the more inexplicable phenomena, supposedly inexplicable phenomena, I should say. Between you and me, Mr. Beale, I am sure we are both rational men. The truth of these matters normally lies in some manner of confusion about the true status of affairs. You do understand, but it is of interest to me to investigate those matters, to see if we can find a more reasonable explanation for what may have actually taken place.
So you don't hold with the ghost then?
I think the human mind is a wonderful thing and is capable of dreaming up far more horrors than even the devil himself, were the devil also true.
And at that point, there has to be a creak from the floor upstairs. Are you angling here for the information move, or do you have something else in mind?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm just kind of interested at first, just sort of trying to get him to explain what he thinks is going, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's have you roll with. And what do you think is the appropriate ability here? Are you charming him, or is this the razor edge of your reason at work?
Yeah. I think at this point it probably is just the presence. I think while I am taking the kind of rational viewpoint, I think at this point it probably is more the act of trying to get him to actually open up and listen. So it's probably presence, I think.
Right, roll with presence then. Do you want to invoke anything from your quarters to give you advantage?
I don't think so at this stage. I think I'm going to roll and see how it goes. That is a 5.
Well, a 5. Um, that creaking that we heard above is then followed by a splash as some water that has run through wherever the candelabra above the dining table is screwed into the ceiling. You look up and you notice that there is a trickle of water running down the candelabra and hitting the table, and then another one, and then another one. And I think that despite your effort to present the impression of the rational scientist, I think that in consequence you are shaken. Unless that is you want to don a mask and improve the outcome.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put on the mask of the past to take that to a 7 to 9.
Okay, so let's look at your which is the first one. You lost someone very important to you. Who were they? Name them.
Yeah, so I think we kind of get just a brief flashback here to probably even just earlier that evening, and we just see Dr. Weiss in his room at Hargrave House. He has the copy of Paradise Lost in front of him, and he's just got it open to like the faceplate, and with just in the front in a very elegant hand, it says, with my deepest affection, your good friend Kit. And we know the full name of my as it referred to as the person important to me, is Lord Christopher de Montfort.
Okay. If you would make a note of that, because I will forget who that is. So Lord Christopher de Montfort is someone important to you, and that tells me their name. Who were they to you? Or what hint does the audience get of who or what they were to you?
Yeah, I think actually the I think that this is kind of this is the one of those proper old-fashioned sort of inscriptions, and I think it's actually there's kind of the date and like place where this is where it's been written as well in there, and it's obviously quite some years, a few years ago now, but it is it's at and I think maybe even the imprint on the book itself, it's from Magdalen College in Cambridge. So yeah, they were students together.
Fine. I like that. So that turns a 6 into a 7 to 9, which there's a complication, either the clue itself or a complication you encounter while searching. I think that what he will do is he will go to a shelf in the corner, where he picks out a kind of a leather folder tied up, and he brings it to the table and he undoes it, and it appears to be the household expenses, but there are expense, and he says, you say that this is rational, Doctor, that there's an explanation for this, but how do you explain this? And he turns and pushes the ledger towards you, and there are expenses there for thought casting and dream whisperer and pig gifts. And he says, I have no idea what those are. I did not put those in my ledger. And you tell me there's a rational explanation for this? And the clue is Mr. Beale's ledger has unexplained expenses. But how on earth can you say to me that there is a rational explanation for all this, Doctor, when strange things have been happening like this?
Can I just clarify for the the audience or whatever? Is it the same handwriting?
It is the same handwriting. Okay, Doctor?
Yep. Yeah, and I think so you it is possible, Mr. Beale, that these were written by yourself in a state of distraction. It is possible, or not that I wish to cast aspersions on her. Perhaps even your wife may have done this as well, either some form of practical joke, or for that matter, some other motive. I hardly think that some irregular accounts in a ledger are a common sign of the supernatural.
Now, let us cut to Annie Morrish waiting in the... I think we have to invoke other servants. We can't have Chambers driving the four-wheeler everywhere. So I think, Annie, you are in the four-wheeler parked outside number 18. I think that the principal function of this scene is to answer a question and then give you a chance to act on it. But yes. I'm curious how is Dr. Weiss going to get you across the threshold, or are you not going to wait?
I assumed we'd pre-prepared a time that he was going to introduce me as his medium friend who was going to come and...
Okay.
Because of the way that you've played it, saying, there's a reasonable explanation, perhaps you're going to introduce me as like a table rapper who will come and just put his wife's hysterical mind at rest, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, before we do that, let's have that meta conversation about question 1. Question 1 that we are looking to answer is, which part of the house is the ghost attached to? Now, we're pretty confident that it covers quite a bit of ground, but it is attached to one bit of the house. So I'm going to start with Annie, because you know the house better. And so I want you to put a hypothesis forward that the others can test.
Okay. Can I ask, by the way, from an audience point of view, because I don't think any of the characters saw it, the little boy that ran upstairs, was that the same little boy that was in the room previously?
The audience didn't see deliberately.
So they saw the back of his head.
They see a boy in a sailor suit running upstairs from 2 different angles. Chambers going out of the door, and you looking back over your shoulder as the boy runs past you and up the stairs.
Nice. Okay. So we have in the maid's quarters, we had a window which looked out to a prior place and time. So when we looked out, we should have seen like terraced rows and stuff like that. But what
the rooftops of London.
Yeah, we saw like parkland and stuff that was there before. We also know that Ginny Hess was strangled, and there was a tightening around someone's throat earlier, which implies that it is a single ghost which is haunting this place because of the repeated motive.
Let me pause you there.
Yeah.
And go to Rose next to see whether there is anything you want to add to that at this point, because currently you are at 2d6 minus 1 to answer that question. Rose, can you add to this hypothesis?
Well, yeah, I kind of think it's in the hallways, and that's why there was blood in the vase there.
Okay, so fresh blood in the vase links it to the hallway. Yes, it was the hallway. You're quite right. So that would get us to a flat roll. What about Chambers? What has Chambers been thinking about this? Because it'd be nice to get to at least a plus, perhaps.
Yeah. The division of lines between two unknown people from a different era. I think that's why that might be the one I want to explain. I think this is something that's been recurring in this house. This kind of secretive violence that really has only kind of like impacted, you know, those who quote unquote don't matter. Obviously, that's what Chambers is going to focus on. That all this and the vision of violence is kind of like all this like accrued history leaking out.
So I've ticked a vivid visions of violence between two unknown people from a different era. Yeah. That gets you to 2d6 plus 1. Dr. Weiss, how do you feel about going with 2d6 plus 1, or are you looking at 2d6 plus 2 before I go back around one more time?
Yeah, I was wondering whether to draw this into this one or save it for the next one. But I actually think this ties in really nicely with what we've already sort of established here. So I will bring that in as well. In that I think that the series of numbers that are behind that wallpaper, when we investigate it further, it is a list of dates when people have been killed in this house, and that you know it's. And I think, yeah, so I think maybe the reason why this does seem to have been showing up in different places around the house is because each of these like different locations, like the hallway, the bedroom, are all the sites of different killings over time.
Okay. Let me come back around to Annie, because you said this ball rolling. You are looking at 2d6 plus 2. Do you want to take one of those away to get down to 2d6 plus 1 and leave one for later? Or are you? What are you thinking?
I think I'll leave that at the minute. So do we know, David, who has been writing down the numbers then? Writing down the dates?
My assumption at this point is that it is just a sort of a spectral manifestation, but it could be someone physically doing it. But I had it in my mind that these are just like appearing there mysteriously.
Cool, because I kind of like the idea that it's tied, because we've got the vision of the parkland that was there previously that we could see that we shouldn't have been able to see, and that maybe. Because Blake said about it being tied to the hallway, and I like the sort of the translation of the hallway into like a path through the park, when the park was also this area, and that maybe there was like a murderer that stalked that specific like throughway, and that's why it's tied to this corridor. So they would always wait for someone to pass by on the hall or on the road at the time. And then that has translated to watching the ghost watching someone go past in the hall and then deciding to off them. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think that's a neat idea, and that whatever malign presence caused that first murderer to stalk that path has stayed associated with this bit of geography. I think that's very cool.
Or is like the ghost of that murderer, perhaps? Exactly,
yes. You know, that spirit of murder has moved on with time. Okay. So that would give you 2d6 plus 2 to pin it down to the hallway.
Mhm.
I'm going to go to Annie to take responsibility for rolling the dice.
Yep.
To answer a question, is it the hallway?
Let's hope so, because we used a lot of clues. Dismiss that sec. Where is the reroll button?
It's that little purple button, bottom middle, with a little kind of...
Yeah.
Got it?
I thought it was a dice. That's an 11.
Well. Now, you could improve that to a 12, because in the between, the success tier can be increased if every hunter marks a Janus mask. And I will just remind you that each threat comes with a new mask. And there is a mask for this threat, which is called the Mask of the Unquiet. Each hunter narrates a flashback to their childhood when they experienced a haunting. Are we up for that? Because that would turn that into a 12 plus.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm willing.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's a short run. And once this threat is gone, that mask is gone. So let me go to Annie first then.
Mm-hmm.
Relate a childhood experience of haunting.
Okay, so the last time we saw Annie in a flashback, she was literally in the womb. So we will cut to her not long after, when she's like maybe 3 months old and in a little blue pram. Yeah, like a little blue pram. And her mother is pushing her through the streets of London. And no, the streets. No, her mother is pushing her through streets, because you don't know where Annie's from yet. And there's a little mobile, and even though there's no wind, the mobile is spinning, and we can't see what's causing that from the mother's point of view. She's talking to one of her friends, and then we look up from Annie's point of view, from the little baby, and we can see this dark figure just kind of with fingers that are like 1 digit too long, just spinning it around.
Okay. So, I mean, what's interesting about that is that it suggests that Annie's background is sufficiently elevated in terms of class to have a pram and to have a mobile in it. Lovely. I like that. Let's go to Dr. Weiss. What about a childhood haunting for you?
Yeah, I think we see Victor when he's a boy of maybe 8 or 9, thereabouts. He's you know, dressed in fairly simple shorts and shirt and the like. He's in it looks like a rural cottage type thing, though like a kind of a modern cottage, not an old one. There is I think, as we kind of see kind of a shot from the outside and in through one of the windows to when we first see him, we can see it's like a vicarage. It's next to the church, and I think Victor is just kind of you know, working on his copybook sort of thing at this table. It actually probably is an actual desk, but it's clearly not his desk. You know, there's lots of big tomes on various ecclesiastical matters scattered around, but we see just, and kind of he's just out of the corner of his eye, just one of those very vague, indistinct grey shapes, and you know, starts and runs up to the doorway where he saw it and looks out, and we just see this like very vague, very indistinct grey figure, you know, the classic, you know, monk / nun ghost, just pausing at the end of the sort of little corridor, turns around and looks back at him. But we do sort of see just for a moment a sort of very almost looks like a skeletal figure under the hassock, but then it disappears around the corner again.
Okay. Chambers.
Yeah, I think we get a shot of that cul-de-sac again. This time the house is intact, and this, yeah, a young girl is running down the sidewalk. She's got this like servant smock on, very disheveled. Um, she's got like a basket of like goods that she's running to like get back to to the house. And she runs to an out. She's not allowed to go up the front of the house, so she has to go down an alleyway. And just as she reaches the back, she's like panting, trying to get there, but all this like stuff, which I think is just a lot of candies when I think about it. It's not for her, clearly. And I think but as soon as she gets to the servant's door, she trips, lets go of the basket, and all the candies spill out. And she just kind of like looks up, and tears are welling up in her eyes because this is going to be so much, and she's going to be so late. And then a hand reaches up to like help her up, and she, without even thinking, she just kind of like takes it, and this hand just kind of gently helps her up. And there's this lady, this beautiful regal lady, who kind of like wipes the tears out of Chambers' eyes, and probably says, I'm imagining this flashback, there's like there's no audio of like there's no voiceover. So you can tell that this rather regal lady says something quite gentle and calming. And that kind of calms this young girl down. But as soon as like she kind of like blinks and she sees this lady's dress, which she thought looked very lovely, it was very nice, is actually caked in mud, just absolutely sodden in mud and dirt and grime. And she looks up at this lady, and her lady's face has seen better days. And the lady reaches up to wipe her tears again. You can see that her nails are all cracked from clawing their way out of the dirt. And she's
that's good enough for me.
That's good enough, yeah.
Good enough for me. And finally, Rose, your experience. I am conscious I've vastly overrun my break time, by the way. We'll take a break in a moment, but Rose.
I think when she was 8, she was sort of down by the river, but she's sort of having an argument with a teacher who had the audacity to tell her to do something she didn't want to. And she got really annoyed, and she kind of partially changed. She hadn't fully changed yet, and bit the teacher. And the teacher just, it's just a scratch, but it actually kept bleeding and bleeding, and they actually died on the way back to town. And then for like 3 days after that, the ghost was just following me everywhere and tipping stuff off shelves and trying to get my attention and yelling and screaming at me. And I ended up sort of locking myself in my room and hiding down in the blankets, and the servants are banging on the door trying to get my attention. I'm like, no, make the lady go away, make the lady go away. Because I didn't get it all.
No. I shall be interested to see if other victims haunt you. I am conscious I've vastly overrun my normal break time. So I'm going to say, should we take a break now and we come back at 25 to the hour? Is that long enough? Okay, 25 to the hour. I'll pause the recording. We're back. I thank you, Ollie, for reminding me that I need to press the record button. So we're just going to rewind in our time so everybody gets to see this. So at the point where Annie has concluded it's the hall where this thing is focused, and we've intercut what each of the hunters has been thinking about where in the house this is taking place, where the ghost is bound to. What breaks the reverie for Annie is a polite knock on the window of the four-wheeler. As
I say, Dr. Weiss, is it time for my dramatic entrance already?
And it is not Dr. Weiss. It is instead the nameless so far Hargrave House groom and driver, who hands in an a cream envelope, richly embossed. And that's the point at which Annie notices a carriage that had drawn up next to yours. You'd been so lost in thought you hadn't even seen it arrive. And as it pulls away, the gaslight opposite just illuminates very briefly the inside of that carriage. And in that carriage, you see a statuesque middle-aged black woman, beautifully dressed in blue. But what draws your attention is that gaslight opposite just reflects for a moment off a rich blue sapphire set in the center of a choker at her neck. And then the carriage is gone. But yes, there is this envelope. What do you do with the envelope, Annie, before you do anything else?
I think I'm going to just tuck that. No, what I'm going to do is I've got like a purse with me, like a large purse, and I open the purse and we hear something like making a commotion inside there, and I pop the envelope in and then close it back up, and the purse continues to shake a little bit.
So yes, Annie, you've concluded it's the hall. Of course it's the hall. What are you going to do with that piece of information? Because you are now the focus of this last scene. But first, the pig god Moch demands a sacrifice of blood. What does the cult offer him? Describe the manner of the offering, Annie.
Okay, so I think in a little nod to Carrie, we have the cult members walking through with pails of pig's blood, and each of the cultists stands up or stands in a circle, and then one by one they kind of pour it upon themselves, drinking it down.
Oh, drinking it.
Drinking it as it falls into their mouth, but it just kind of like pours all over them.
So as it pours down their faces, licking their lips and then draining the pail. Oh, lovely, love it, love it.
And when they drain the pail, they're sort of like all stuffing about on the floor, fighting for it like pigs.
Including that unpleasant alderman. So pails of blood, drunken ecstasy. I can't spell ecstasy. That isn't the way you spell it. Anyway, we'll deal with that at a later date. As they roll around in the orgiastic pleasure. I can spell orgiastic. So then, so Annie, it's the hall. What? Of course, it's the hall. What do you do with that knowledge?
I am gonna go and prove that it's the hall. So I am gonna go and taking my purse with me, knock very politely on the door of is it number 10 St James's Street?
Number 18, I think.
Number 18 St James's Street, and wait.
And I think Mrs. Thicket, with the best will in the world, Mrs. Thicket has been allowed to go to bed. Beale looks at Dr. Weiss and says, "Oh, damn it, the cook will be asleep."
I expect this might be my one of my colleagues, Mr. Beale. She claims that she is a medium, and I have not yet managed to prove her false in this. We have different approaches to our task, but if you're willing to let her in and she can provide a more spiritual assessment of your current issue, maybe she would be interested in what is written in your ledger.
And so he goes to the door, opens the door. We see Dr. Weiss at the dining room door in the hallway. And
I think Dr. Weiss just kind of, as his back's turned, has just pulled out a little scalpel blade from somewhere within his coat and has just speared an apple from the fruit bowl and is just going to be eating that whilst watching this exchange through the door.
So Annie, Mr. Beale, who saw you very briefly, you left the house as he arrived. So at this point, he doesn't recognize you. I think. That may be a complication that we come to. But he says, are you Dr. Weiss's associate?
I am the medium, sir. Good evening.
Please come in. Please come in. Any help that you can provide would be, my family and I would be immensely grateful. Immensely grateful.
You may regret saying that. And
now, just I have
push my way
also,
past.
because you correctly answered the first question, each of you now has access to a custom move called Old Bones, which I've added to the bottom of your moves. But it requires cosmic passage to have been moved, to have been marked, just by the by. So, Annie, Dr. Weiss, we'll see you through the open door, you know, eating the apple off this. Is it a clean scalpel or is it bloody?
Oh, it's a clean scalpel, yeah.
So, Annie, you are the focus of this night scene. What do we see?
Mr. Beale, please accompany me through to the hall.
There you are. You cross the threshold at the front door, and there you are in the hall. The stairs are up ahead of you. Before you is the dining room on the left, the sitting room on the left, and the way that that Mrs. Thickett disappeared downstairs to the basement kitchen.
Okay, actually, I'm going to go into the dining room where Dr. Weiss is, and say, could you please bring me a small teacup?
There is
also
probably a teacup in the curio cabinet where the Beale's dinner service is stored.
Okay, in that case, I'm just going to go up and take one without asking.
Okay.
I'm going to sit down, open my purse, and grab, before it can fly off, a dove that I have inside, and say, Dr. Weiss, can I borrow that? And just take the scalpel out of your hand, unless you're going to stop me, David.
That's cool.
Kind of fling the apple across the room. And I am going to, possibly even before Mr. Beale can realise what's going on, I am going to slice the dove's throat. And I am going to drain it into the teacup.
And Mr. Beale, we cut to Mr. Beale's face, which is, Dr. Weiss, what's the look on your face?
I think he is genuinely like watching this with interest, is watching closely. There's possibly a very sort of slight, like, you know, like slightly, not quite a roll of the eyes, but there's probably a bit of a you know, really kind of look, but he is also kind of curious about you know, what's going to go on here.
Because perhaps you've not seen Annie do this before. Okay, Annie, back to you.
Okay, and now I'm going to go in for the move, if that's cool. Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so I take the teacup into the hall, and I take the blood into my mouth from the teacup, kind of swill it about like I'm tasting wine, and then spray it on the floor of the hall. At which point I will make the roll and see what happens. I know what I am intending to do, but it may go awry.
So is the, just so I'm clear, is this thinning of the veil?
No, this is the rites of salt.
Rites of salt. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Salt and smoke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am attempting to observe another place and time. And what I want to do is show various visions of the past killings on this hall and kind of the park that was there before and stuff like that.
Fine.
But it might go horribly wrong. So let's, instead of horribly right, let's give this a quick roll. That is an 8. Do I add anything to it? I can't remember. Plus sensitivity?
It's sensitivity, I think. Yeah, plus sensitivity.
Okay, so that is a 9.
So that's a 9. So on a 7 to 9, the magic works imperfectly. Choose your effect and a complication. Now, let me be clear about mechanically here. you still have to answer the question, how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next world, using the answer a question move.
Yes.
So anything here that reasonably could get you a clue would contribute to that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So my effect is going to be that I observe another place of time, and for funsies, let's have that the magic draws immediate unwanted attention.
Oh, fine.
Okay, so I spit the blood out, spatters on the floor, and possibly as Mr. Beale or a servant is protesting, we start seeing footsteps, like footprints, appear in the blood, and then we start seeing a young couple walking arm in arm, kind of through a Regency Park, and we see this fellow following them, and take a knife from his coat as he sees them go, and on the wall, the wallpaper of the hall is that kind of Regency Victorian like painted wallpaper, and it has some like images of the park, but then they just kind of like fade, and it's like we're all standing on the park road, watching this murder happen as this guy comes up behind them and just.
Okay, now the complication is that this draws immediate unwanted attention.
Mhm.
I'll tell you what that's going to be, is that this man, this murderer, is following them and then stops and turns towards you. And you see in the shadow of his broad-brimmed hat a vicious smile as he approaches you with a knife. Now that is the complication I'm going to throw at you.
Mhm.
Do you want to put on a mask to improve your outcome to avoid that complication?
Kind of don't.
I suppose I just mechanically, I guess I'm offering you a chance to mark the cosmic passage, which would give you access to that new custom move.
Okay, then yes, let's do that. Yeah, so maybe I get like that slight vision of that happening before everything rewinds. When I'm up the cosmic passage, what happens then?
You increase your sensitivity by 1 and reduce your reason by 2. So don't feel obliged to do it, but that custom move is no use until you have somebody has marked cosmic passage.
I'm totally going to do that. And I think the reason that her reason reduces by 2 is whilst the putting on the veil is usually sort of like a glimpse into an alternate timeline or something like that, and the characters don't know it, Annie is fully aware that that happened and that it was undone in some way, and that she was murdered by the ghost then, but then something happened and undid it, but she has the memory of her own death.
Perhaps passed via that dark entity that has an interest. So tick the box on cosmic passage, make the change to your stats, and I will give you another clue, which is at the point when the young couple are murdered. We see it all in gory detail. We won't have it on screen, but we will see it in gory detail as the knife falls, sprays of blood, a handkerchief drifts down into a pool of blood and soaks up the blood, drawing attention to a pair of individually embroidered initials. And then into the pool of blood come a stack of love letters from another time, which is the clue that I'm going to add.
That's neat.
There we go. So that is where we get to. I am inclined, folks, to invite Annie to start resolving the second question, unless at this point you want to pause and move on to Dawn.
How many clues do we have for the second question?
You have 1, 2, 3, 4 left. The best you can do is -2, because the difficulty for this one is 6.
I think. How are we feeling, everyone? I think we should probably
Continue the investigation.
continue the investigation. I mean, we can try, can't we? Because the clues aren't used up if we're wrong. So I guess we can try and make something of them.
I'm cool with just carrying on the investigation a little longer first. But if we think we've got enough to go on, we could try. But otherwise, I'm inclined to just wait until next time.
I think maybe we wait.
Okay. Rose, Chambers, any dissenting view?
I'm happy either way.
Okay. So let us then, Mrs. Beale appears at the top of the stairs and looks down at this, there's blood on her floor.
Mm-hmm.
That's the woman I told you about, Harold. At which point I think we see Dr. Weiss hustle Annie Morrish out of number 18. And let's go to our next phase, which is, go back there and go to Dawn.
But can I give Mrs. Beale a wink on the way out?
Of course you can. Okay, collect rewards for threat resolved. No. Answer Dawn questions. So let me work through. You'll find the Dawn questions just below your stats. Did the hunters answer a question? Yes, you did. Put a tick in the box. You did not resolve a threat. Did you experience an echo in the night? Now, was there anything up to play so far that related to those unseen pig cultists? Let me start with Annie. Is there anything that you think you could relate between the action that you have taken or the scenes you were involved in? And the pig
I
cultist?
purposely did the bucket of blood and then the teacup of blood.
I wondered. Fine. Let me go to Dr. Weiss.
Yes. Explicitly, I went for the apple on the end of the scalpel to call back to the boar tusks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What about Chambers?
They're probably a bit more glancing than the other two.
I am going to be as loose and free as I can be.
Okay, it's the. Oh, go ahead, Ollie.
No, you go first. I was going to say about the tiger size.
Yeah, that was deliberately, emphasize the eyes. But also there was like the other one, like if I thought that was weak enough, like the other one was like in Chambers' flashback with the regal lady caked in mud. Either way, I only get 1 XP for it. That's all good. Thank you.
Fine. Tick an echo in the night. And in all of this, I cannot believe, Rose, that you did not experience an echo in the night. I can think of at least one.
Well, just the blood on my face, but that wasn't actually deliberate. That was just me indulging in my vice.
I don't care if it's deliberate or not. It is all the more eerie if it wasn't deliberate.
Yeah. All right.
But if there's anything else, feel free to highlight it.
No, that's good.
Okay, so mark an echo in the night. Let me go back the other way. Did you encourage a fellow hunter to let loose for a change, Rose?
No.
Did you use violence to solve a problem?
No, I've been restraining myself.
You have. You had a chance to slaughter a dog and chose not to. Chambers, did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
Yeah, that was me engaging my informal friend.
With Velma. So tick that one. Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered your employer? I don't think Dr. Weiss has had long enough to get angry yet, has he?
No, he seems to be the type to just take everything by their stride. We have to work on this.
Dr. Weiss, did you dismiss the possibility of a supernatural explanation despite everything you've experienced?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Rational.
Yep.
You are Scully to
Exactly.
Annie's Mulder. Did you secretly engage in romantic or emotional behavior at odds with your aloof, logical exterior?
I mean, it's a little tenuous, but I think the flashback with the book from Kit possibly hits on that.
I think the audience is very clear what was going on underneath this apparent just two students at college together.
Yeah.
So by all means, tick that one. Did you have a face-to-face encounter with a dark entity? We had a flashback, I think, only didn't we, for Annie?
And also there was the ghost, which killed me / didn't kill me.
Exactly. And you did indeed perform a ritual. So that will convert into a certain number of XP that you can add to your track and then unmark the questions.
Cool.
You are now, the first three questions are always the same, but you can now shuffle the other questions to other options if you are interested in adopting different questions for the next kind of cycle. And then, are there any moves that any of you are sitting on that are triggered at dawn? I noticed that the quickening is still marked. I'm not quite certain. Oh, I see. 12 plus your heightened sense, blah blah blah. There could have been, if you've done very well, there would have been a dawn effect.
Yeah.
Fine. Bit confused by that, but that makes sense. And we have no Janus Mars prompts to resolve. Dawn is done. Let us move on to the next day. While you are at breakfast, as Chambers is kind of fussing around the range of silverware and assorted large silver hemispheres under which there are deviled kidneys, and other delicacies, and the three of you are at table sharing breakfast, there is a dong, which I decided is the sound of the Hargrave House doorbell. Dong. Chambers?
I'll say your name. I'll go.
I think I do say.
Chambers, do you want?
Chambers.
Is it appropriate for Rose to go?
My internet is being terrible. So I faces were frozen. I thought I heard three voices happen at the same time.
Okay. Let me clarify. So the doorbell of Hargrave House has gone. Oh, are you?
I'm turning off my video.
Okay. And I asked you, what do you do, Chambers? Rose has stepped in and says, do you want me to get it, Chambers? Is it appropriate, Chambers, for Rose to answer the door?
I think I'm gonna give Rose a look that says no.
Okay.
That's okay with
Okay. And so Chambers, we cut to you at the door, where there is a dapper gentleman. Well, I say gentleman. He looks like a well-dressed tradesman, I suppose. Spotless tweed coat. He has a tidy little moustache, nicely waxed, and he's clearly just tapped out his pipe on the pillar at Hargrave House as he tucked it into his pocket. And you recognise this as Inspector Pettigrew, who is an inspector at Scotland Yard, and he says, "Now then, Chambers, I wish to see your master." What's your reaction?
I think, well, Chambers is not in a position to ask, like, what do you want? So she will just like nod and like escort him straight to the breakfast table.
I'm sorry to disturb you at breakfast, Dr. Weiss, but something has come to my attention. And he looks at Chambers and he says, Chambers, have you are you familiar with a certain pie maker by the name of Fig? And in fact, Chambers, a large, deep crust pie was delivered yesterday to Hargrave House, and you have served it for breakfast. Rose, you are tucking into a chunk of this pie.
You betcha.
What confirms to you that it's human meat?
Well, it tastes better. Tastes and smells better.
Strangely familiar.
Not what I was expecting, but you know, it's a nice surprise.
And I think Pettigrew sees the pie on the sideboard, sees the slice that Rose has just bitten into, and slaps it away from her mouth. For Christ's sake, it's got people in it. Dr. Weiss, what is your reaction to all of this?
I think Dr. Weiss will take another bite of the deviled kidney, chew it, put the fork down, and says, "Well, I suppose that explains what you are here for, Inspector," and is going to wander over to the pie. He's just picked up like a steak knife from the table on his way over, and says, "Oh yes, indeed, that the muscle texture. Yes, that certainly does look human, and also I think that's a finger. Well,
gentlemen, ladies, sorry, doctor, ladies. This is slightly embarrassing for the yard. I am making, on behalf of the commissioner, a direct request for the help of Hargrave House in the investigation of Fig's pies.
Surely,
without looking at him, I'm just going to say, you owe me breakfast.
That, miss, is something we can settle later. Miss Morrish, you were saying?
I said surely the yard is beyond embarrassment at this point.
And you is biting down. Now, I am just curious here. No one has marked the darkened threshold, have they?
No.
No. Okay. And he bites down his immediate
Yes,
response.
I have.
Oh, have
I
you?
have.
You have. Okay. Okay, let me just see then. He will turn on Rose and he'll say to Rose, sorry, my screen went blank for a moment. He'll say to Rose, how dare you? How dare you? This is serious. This is crime. This is murder. This is bleeding cannibalism. And you make light of it? Bloody Yank. Bloody American. And that will colour D.I. Pettigrew's response to you, Rose. So in your dealings with him in future, he's likely to be at disadvantage. Annie, you haven't helped. Chambers, is there any way in which you believe you can pour some emollient onto these troubled waters?
I think I'll sit the inspector down. Or I can get the inspector to say,
Pettigrew.
Inspector Pettigrew, this perhaps now's not the time for wild emotions. Why don't you sit down and have some tea? I'm sure Dr. Weiss will be able to assist. Dr. Weiss and his colleagues will be able to assist the investigation, and Perhaps we'll all be able to work together to ensure there are no more of these pies out and about.
That's very civil of you, Chambers. I will take a cup of tea, thank you. And that will get him back on an even keel, but he is still pissed off at this American, and he's not overly fond of Annie either. Doctor, do you do anything to alter his currently positive view of you?
Hopefully not. Not intentionally. But who's to say?
Okay.
No, I think Dr. Weiss is going to say, well, Inspector, of course, I will be happy to lend any assistance in whatever fashion I can. I fear we may be beyond the point of an autopsy here, but if there is any other aid I may lend the yard, then you have but to ask. Oh, and Chambers, when you're done, if you could, he'll gesture to the pie, if you could take this to my laboratory, please.
Okay, so amazingly, Scotland Yard have asked for your help. It is most unusual, as Annie has implied, despite your confidence that that they need all the help they can get all the time. They very rarely come to you. And in fact, no, that we'll leave it at that. They very rarely come to you. They want to avoid official involvement of the yard, says Pettigrew. We are concerned that that were this to get into the public prints, then there would be a degree of chaos and panic in across London, where figs pies have previously had a very high reputation. So they want to keep the investigation of Fig's Pie Shop in Shoreditch quiet.
And more importantly, people would see how incompetent you are. And I'll smile at him over my tea.
Yes, miss. Without official police presence, so as not to set a pie hysteria across the city. What he can tell you is that they have arrested Mr. Fig, but his family, his wife and 2 sons, are nowhere to be found. Mr. Fig is currently being held at Bethlem Hospital, where he is constantly singing a song. So hang on, I just need to alter slightly what's in the blurb. There we go, put it in there. So Bethlem Royal Hospital, he won't tell the inspector anything about where his family might be, though he's been singing a little song about them. And it is fairly obvious to you that the song is where you should start. I might need to just temper some of that text, but it's in the threat now. The question is, when D.I. Pettigrew has left, is whether you are going to put aside the search for the figs in favor of number 18 James Street or not. Rose, what's your view?
Well, he's a tosser, so he can wait. I'll assist my comrades as I see fit, but it's not a priority to me.
Okay. What about Dr. Weiss? Because he came to you because of your well-known medical expertise.
Yeah, I think Dr. Weiss is certainly interested in looking into this. Both just in specific speaking with Mr. Fig, but the whole thing in general. This is a bit more, less mumbo jumbo than the whole haunting thing.
I was going to say this plays neatly into your alienism, doesn't it? And so the first question is, what kind of animal does Patrick Fig, one of the sons, think he is? And in order to do that, that will give you, once you answer that question, it will give you the opportunity to lure the animal that Patrick Fig thinks he is out into the open and then capture or destroy them. The difficulty in that is a mere 2. The other question is, let's go down here. What kind of victim does Obert Fig, the elder son, prefer? That difficulty is also 2. And the wife, Mrs. Fig, is La Hortensia Fig. And the question that you need to answer there is, what did she lose that she's trying to recapture or remember? And that will allow you to narrow down where she is and capture or destroy her. There is a special rule at work here, which I'll pop down underneath that. All 3 loose figs must be captured or destroyed before this threat can be considered resolved. Okay, so I have successfully, well, not for me to say, I have introduced another threat. Regular scenes commence and continue until the keeper decides to move to the next phase. So is there anything else you want to do before we move to the day phase? Chambers, I didn't ask you whether you were interested in pursuing number 18 or the figs. And this is, I guess, where I need to know if it is your intention to return to number 18 as the new maid-of-all-works on trial.
I have to ask my employer that. That's not up to me.
I'm perfectly happy for you to continue that if you wish. Yeah, I think at this stage, certainly Dr. Weiss does not feel that your presence is required with him. So
Well,
if you think you can, if you think you have other things you can be pursuing, then by all means.
Can this can Chambers do this without even having said this to the doctor? Like, I might come in and out when I'm doing this. I'm not told you. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, let me be clear. That I don't think there's any intention in either of those playbooks for you as a player and Chambers as a character to lose that sense of, control. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I just wanted in fiction to know because it's interesting to me.
Well, certainly you have a secret life in London that is away from Hargrave House and involves the Informals and conceivably a load of other stuff.
I think there probably will be times when Dr. Weiss will specifically ask for Chambers' assistance, but probably not at this stage. So yeah, that's not a problem from my perspective.
And of course, there are some rules that revolve around your employer. Your employer is the only hunter you can request a scene for the purpose of triggering vulnerable. Roles associated with any action done in direct defense of your employer are taken with advantage. And whenever your employer is retired from, we'll worry about that one. Okay. So that brings me round to Annie.
Yes.
Number 18 or the pie makers?
I'm intrigued to go to Bedlam because it's Bedlam, it's a classic location. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Dr. Weiss if that's cool, because we need some more clues before we can resolve the other threat. I can help clean up the ghost once we've found out how to get rid of him by performing the ritual. But if Dr. Weiss will have me, I would like to come to the world's most famous madhouse.
Okay, Rose, you were content to go any which way.
Yep.
It looks like Chambers is going to go back to number 18 undercover. What are you thinking? And let me be clear, there is no reason why you cannot investigate the ghost in another location if you can find a narrative positioning that allows you to do it.
Could I go to like the town hall or the library or something, try and look for references to like the house and what used to be around? I try and look for crime events or pictures of what it used to look like, see if it matches what I saw out the window and stuff. Try and do some research side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, I'll do that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Go to the British Library and look up plans.
Yeah.
So let's cut to Chambers first then. Yeah. So Chambers, I'm seeing you, this time dressed for service, because yesterday you just turned up in your day clothes. Knock on the door in the basement, down that stairs at the front, where Mrs. Thicket says, "Oh, thank God, I was afraid you wouldn't come back."
I'm sorry I'm late, Mom. The traffic was a bit of a bother. But I'm here. I'm here to work. I'm here for whatever you need me to do.
And she'll say, "Oh, you don't call me Mom. You do call her upstairs Mom. You call me Mrs. Thicket." Did you freeze? Did I freeze on you then, Leandro?
Yes, yes, you did.
Because you blanked a bit as well. So she's just explained, you don't call her Mom, you call her upstairs Mom. She is Mrs. Thicket to you. And she'll take you through to the servants' hall downstairs where you and she would eat. And there's a chalkboard where she's written a number of tasks. And she says, you start at the top of this list and you work your way down. Is that clear?
Yeah. Yes, Mrs. Thicket.
Off you go. Let's cut to Rose at the library. Yeah. So Rose, what approach do you take to find something relevant?
Yeah, like old transfers of like estate who used to live there, but also like list of deaths and accidents and crimes in that area, just to see if I can cross-reference anything, if there's a pattern or a picture of any of it. And
I mean, this sounds like cut straight to the information move to me.
Yeah, it would be. It's not risky unless I'm going to get a paper cut.
Unless you want to frame it differently.
No, it's information. I'm trying to cross-reference information. So.
Okay, so I think this is probably reason.
Yeah, yep, sounds right. Okay, got nothing, which is obvious. Let's have a look. 6 plus nothing. 6.
A whole 6. Oh, right, a 6.
I might mark a thing.
I was going to ask you because I think you are about to find. I should tell you what's going to happen, and then you tell me. As you are looking through the area's maps, and you find this Georgian map of when that was still a bit of parkland, and your finger is following the line, and you know that sensation you got yesterday, just before something grabbed you around the neck. You get exactly the same sensation now as you touch that map. You are about to be strangled again, unless you mark a mask.
Yeah, I'm going to mark a.
Which one?
Mark the first one for Mask of the Past.
Okay. Narrate a flashback of your childhood that shows the high level of privilege you were born into.
So maybe there's a picture of some people with some horses, and I it sort of goes into a sepia flashback of it's my 12th birthday and I've been giving, I got a choice of 3 dresses, like 3 full dresses and 3 horses, and I chuck a tanty. I don't want any of them. None of them are good enough for me, and I demand another selection of dresses and horses.
And another governor storms out of this New York townhouse. Therefore, that becomes a 7 to 9. On a 7 to 9, as about the keeper, we'll add. Okay, so okay, let's come up with a clue first. The clue is that you've had a look at this, and then as you're sitting there, kind of frustrated, there's a kind of behind you as a book falls off a shelf. What do you do?
Yeah, I'll grab it and see if it's related to any of the 7 books I've got in front of me.
It is and it isn't. Let me think. It's a novel.
Oh.
So it doesn't seem to have anything to do with it. So do you put it back on the shelf or not?
No, I'm here. Might as well have a quick look.
Okay. It's a novel, a ghoulish novel about a wife who murders her husband.
Oh, this is like a Penny Dreadful comic thing. Yeah, okay. Well, it's not going to be very long. I'll read it.
Okay. And when you finish reading it, what do you do?
I put it in my pack.
Oh, you're going to steal it?
That's a harsh term. Oh, I'll just borrow it indefinitely.
And as you put it into your pocket, slip it into the pocket of your long coat, a librarian who's been watching you says, "That's enough of that. Give me that book back this minute." What do you do?
So you should read this. Really good. Look at this.
And what do you give it to them or not?
Yeah, I'll give it to them.
Oh, I was hoping you might turn violent.
Oh.
just pitching at your targets. Fine, you give them the book back.
Oh, I might sort of go to give it to them and then I yank it back out of their hands and say, "Don't be rude," and I storm out holding it.
Okay, now let's have you resort to violence. There's no half measures here. So this is during the day and they are a librarian. So I'm going to go with the day move. When you do something risky or face something you fear, name what you're afraid will happen if you fail or lose your nerve. What are you afraid will happen?
A bunch of people will run in and help them.
Exactly. And this could turn into something much more.
Yeah, it'll escalate,
tricky.
basically.
Okay.
Yep.
So roll with an appropriate ability. I think this is vitality.
Yeah, yep, okay.
Okay, so roll with vitality. Do you want to invoke anything from your personal quarters to get you advantage?
Yeah, I've got a 6, so I guess
No,
I should.
you have to tell me before you roll.
Yeah, all right, so I can't say. All right, no, then.
So what do you got?
6.
A 6? Holy shit. Turns out that this librarian is a bit of an amateur boxer. And as you square up and grab the book, he says, "That's enough of that." And he punches you. He punched the girl. Only because you had an American accent, obviously. And so I'm going to give you a condition called bleeding nose.
Oh, great. Going to go with my
Bloody nose.
throat.
Will there be any bit of you that remains unscathed at the end of this? So yeah, bloody nose is the condition you get. And you also don't get the book. So the book goes back on the shelf. But you do have a clue. And the clue that you put in is a ghoulish novel about a wife who murders her husband.
Okay. I'll probably run out, bunch of toffs, don't know a good book, and just run out of it.
Shh, as you run through the library. Let's cut to Bethlem Hospital.
And I have a quick scene before we do that.
Oh, by all means.
'Cause I wanted to do a little bit of fortune telling to try and get a kind of the gist of where we are. So when Dr. Weiss, would you call on me before we go? How would we have arranged to?
Yeah, I'd possibly just arranged it like in the continuation of that breakfast scene sort of thing. So yeah, I think that's.
Just needs to get his alienist bag.
Yes. So I'm not there when we go to meet, but you know that I can often be found in my room.
Okay, so the deal is that Dr. Weiss will come to tell you when they're leaving for Bethlem, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so
in your room. What do we
Sorry.
see, Annie? What do we see, Annie, if when you're in your room?
So, Weiss, are you coming?
yeah, I'll sort of come and knock on the door.
Come in.
Yeah, Vice will come in.
And I'm sitting at a little table that I have in my room. I'm sitting on one chair. There's another chair opposite me. Please, Doctor, have a seat. I thought we could see what the fortunes have in store for us before we head off to Bedlam. And there is on the table a rat. Which has been sort of like pinned down in an anatomical style, and I'm currently sorting through its entrails. And I am going to try and trigger thinning of the veil.
Okay.
And read the doctor's fortune.
Excellent.
So I'm guessing this is plus sensitivity?
It is, which is now 2 because I've gone cuckoo. When you consult your divination tools, which are entrails, to a glimpse of the future, roll sensitivity. On a hit, you may ask what is about to happen. Okay. That is an 8. So yes. So I will ask the keeper what is about to happen.
And this is Dr. Weiss's fortune.
Yes, I'm reading his fortune. Yeah.
Go on.
And the keeper will answer. So you will answer truthfully, but not necessarily completely.
I think that Dr. Weiss will confront a pagan god. Or that's the way
Okay.
Annie reads it.
Cool. Okay. So I say to you, older things than ghosts and murderers are in these streets, Doctor. Do we know which god?
I don't think I need to answer completely.
No. Okay, cool. Something great and old has taken an interest in you. Something older than thought, older than bones. Be careful, sir.
Well, thank you, Sister Morrish. I was sister, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am not still convinced that I fully believe your prognostications, but I will take your warning to heart regardless. And I must say, this is quite fine work of yours. And he'll just kind of poke a finger about inside the rat. This quite takes me back. I don't suppose you have ever had the opportunity to do so with a human specimen before.
I haven't. You must invite me to an autopsy sometime.
By all means, there is something so humbling about seeing human life splayed out in all its grisly detail.
And I will remind you, Annie, you still have that envelope in your bag that was given to you last night.
Yes, which I was going to read in the carriage, if that's cool.
Fine. So I think that probably you will go in the Hargrave House carriage to Bethlem. Mm-hmm. Let us, Dr. Weiss, have you arrive at the door of Bethlem Hospital. Do you introduce yourself, in a professional manner, or?
Yes, I will. I suspect, like the some of the staff here may know me.
I think you know the director, Dr. Walters.
Yeah, and so yeah. When I get to the door, I will ask to see Dr. Walters.
and the attendants here are employed for their burliness and their natural bent to cruelty, I think, rather than necessarily for any kind of medical or even humane skill. And so you are led through the hall, the entrance hall of Bethlem Hospital, upstairs. You know that at the back and to the sides are where the unfortunates who are placed here are to be found, accompanied by Annie Morrish, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
You go into Dr. Walter's office, and he's leaning over some papers, a rich head of thick white hair, wreathed in pipe smoke as he puffs on his pipe. He looks up and says, "Ah, Weiss, what can I do for you?"
It's good to see you again, Walters. May I introduce Sister Morrish, who is here assisting me today.
And I think he will jump to the conclusion that this is a nurse sister, whether that's true or not.
Yeah.
Yes, what can I do for you?
I've been asked to come here. It's something of a delicate matter. Well, most things here are at the end of the day, but I understand Scotland Yard brought a new inmate here yesterday, I believe.
Oh, Mr. Fig, yes. A very strange case.
I have been asked to interview him regarding the location of his family.
I don't see that shouldn't be a problem. I'll walk you down. And as he walks you down, he explains that Fig he's mostly unresponsive, I have to tell you. But he does sing this song over and over and over again. I'm assuming it's significant. To be honest, I've not had a good look at it myself yet. But potentially a very fascinating case, I think. I don't think any of the literature has ever covered this sort of thing. Someone needs to write the article, but first dibs me, Weiss?
Of course, I'll happily be your second on the piece if it comes to that.
Very civil. And he and an attendant will take you to a dank, vaulted ceilinged, tiny window, little more than 6 feet wide by 8 feet long, with bars all the way across it, rather than a door with a window. We thought we would put him in an open cell just to keep an eye on him, says Walters. Mr. Johnson here will provide any assistance. Johnson, if Dr. Weiss needs me, you know where I can be found. And he walks away, leaving you to observe the man inside, who is singing to himself as he sits against the back wall, looking vacantly into space. Titus Fig is a big man. Clearly, he would stand 6'2" or 6'3", if he chose to stand up, and meaty with it. But his hands are peculiarly kind of literally like bunches of sausages. They look soft and white and perhaps overwashed. And he just sits there.
Good day to you, Mr. Fig. My name is Dr. Weiss, and this is my assistant, Sister Morrish. I am here to ask you a few questions, if you do not mind.
And almost despite the darkness of his location, when he looks up, he has the bluest of eyes. Let's cut to Chambers. Chambers, Where do you choose to begin your tasks? Whatever was on that list, it'll be whichever bit of the house you want it to be in.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna start investigating that little boy's room. I think I'm cleaning up from. I assume he's having his lessons somewhere.
Well, of
I
course,
think
there isn't currently a governess, because Velma told you that they'd left some little time after Ginny Hess was found dead. But yes, let's have you dust the dining room perhaps, while Mrs. Beale puts Roger through his paces.
I'm gonna say my internet has cratered during while you were talking. I'm sorry, Alan.
It's personal. It just doesn't want to listen to what I have to say. Mrs. Beale is undertaking a lesson with Roger in the dining room, and Roger is sitting there with his legs not quite reaching the floor, kicking the dining room chair legs. He is dressed in a sailor suit. What do you do?
Yeah, that's in his room, right?
No, it's in the dining room.
Okay, yes.
Where Mrs. Beale is teaching him.
Yes, I'm gonna
teach Roger was not on the list, but it doesn't mean it couldn't be added.
Well, while he's occupied there, I'm just gonna dust around his room, and he's not using it now.
I misunderstood. Yes, and that sounds like cut to the information move.
Yes. I think I am doing this with
take your pick, you're unobserved.
Yeah. I think a bit of reason just to see like what could I spot that like could be out of place in a little boy's room.
I'm inclined to give you advantage because you have free run.
Ooh, okay, I'll take it. Oh, I need to refresh the page. A second.
What could go wrong? 3 dice. Gee.
All right, I'm gonna roll the 3 black dice over there. Hey, that's an 11.
Okay. Now, you could increase that to a 12, of course. Were you to don a mask? I simply put that before you as an option.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
Good with
okay. So on a hit, you find a clue. The keeper will tell you what it is. I think that as you are dusting, give him that one. You're dusting some toys on a shelf, and suddenly the wall ahead of you lights up. Someone set a fire behind you. What do you do?
Wow. That's unexpected. That's a clue. Okay, cool. I think I'll turn around. See the
wall of fire between you and the door. What do you do?
Oh, gosh, I'm gonna trust my. I've got an instinct that this is not what it seems, so I'm gonna do something very foolhardy.
Go on
and jump through the fire.
That sounds like vitality to me.
Yeah.
Or is it composure to build up the nerve to do it?
I think it's probably more composure.
Okay,
like,
roll with composure. No advantage this time.
That's an 8.
On an 8. So it's just the day move. Your actions. Okay, so you burst through it, and you're right. It wasn't real. But you emerge onto the landing to find Roger looking at you. On a 7 to 9, it leaves you vulnerable, and you can choose to back down or go through with it. Or you can put on a mask and improve the outcome.
I'm probably going to put on a mask then. Let's see. I think, I'll put on a mask of the past.
Go ahead. Tell us something else about Chambers' background.
Yeah. So narrate a flashback to your young adulthood before you were a servant that shows what a charmed life you lived.
I have to say, so far, it hasn't felt like a charmed life.
Well, this is after the significant professional triumph. After having pulled off such a score, I think you get a shot of Chambers' like apartment, and it's. I mean, it's not the best. It's not the worst. But it's not. It's not like the best. But it's like a very nicely furnished. And it's kind of like looking out in a fairly like a social part of London. It's like night out. There are people going out to theaters and whatnot. I think the main thing that shows how things have kind of improved after she pulled off that triumph is that she has actually claimed one of the portraits that were hauled out of that house. It's soot stained and burnt on the edges, but it's a lovely portrait of this regal lady in this dress.
Oh, that regal lady.
Yeah. And I think like this is just kind of like Chambers kind of like walks into this room and she actually no, I think she looks dressed to like go out into town, so to speak, you know, enjoy her life quite a bit. Maybe there's like maybe she was entertaining some guests, being like, all right, we're gonna go to the theater, we're gonna go see, you know, go to the Grand Guignol, you know, have some fun. And but it's very clear that she's kind of like the center of attention here.
Fine. And now that you've narrated that, you thought it was Roger, but it was just a shadow. And the clue you have received is a room appears to be on fire, but it's not. If you would add that to the list, please. Rose, where do we see you going next?
So it's still day phase. I can
Yeah.
do whatever. There's not a lot I can do that I don't sort of have a narrative reason to catch up with the others, so I can just kind of go home and wait and see if anyone needs a hand with anything.
I thought you might seek out Mr. Beale at work and beat him to a pulp, but I'm just pushing you in that direction.
Oh, if I was going to do that, it would be that twat from Scotland Yard. Actually, yeah, I've got his scent, so I'm just going to track him and see where he goes, if he goes anywhere else.
So, sorry, is this D.I. Pettigrew?
Yes.
Okay. D.I. Pettigrew does indeed go somewhere else. He goes down to he goes to Chelsea, and he's heading to Cremorne Gardens, which is a local pleasure park.
You mean pleasure in the kids on swing stuff, not?
No. You know, it's like it's got a dance floor, it's got an American style saloon, it's got a maze, it's got bands playing in bandstands. It is a place of entertainment.
Cool. I'm going to go in the saloon and start a fight.
Now, I'll remind you that in order to hit that target, be clear here.
That's going to be a fellow hunter, doesn't it? Oh, no.
Did you use violence to solve a problem?
Yeah, not really. Not when I'm starting the problem.
All right. That's where I'm heading with that one, yeah.
All right. I think I'll just go to the saloon and see if it's legit or if it's all kitschy bullshit.
Oh, it's all kitschy bullshit. What gives it away is kitschy bullshit.
It's badly painted. It's like white, blue, red instead of red, white, and blue. And it's, yeah. The eagle is actually a hawk. It's not even a bald eagle. It's just completely buggered up everything. Just
some crap figure of some kind of bird of prey that somebody thought would work. Okay.
Yep.
Let us cut back to Dr. Weiss and Annie Morrish at Bethlem Hospital. I've just copied, having listened to him sing for several minutes, I've copied the song into the notes under Fig's Pigs. Sing a song of three pigs, the apples of my eye, snatch a bunch of long pigs and bake them into pies. First comes little Patrick, about on poor roof. He thinks he's an animal, but he's been since troubled youth. That doesn't quite scan as written, and so on. And he is clearly mad as a box of frogs. Victor, what do? He's not answering any questions.
I think, yeah, after listening to him sing for a little bit, Victor will say, your family all seem to have given Scotland Yard quite the slip, if that is of any comfort to you, Mr. Fig.
And he looks up at you, and a moment of rationality flashes across those bright blue eyes as you roll the information move.
Sure thing.
What do you think? Reason?
Yeah, I think that makes sense here.
Remember that you do have a set of medical textbooks.
Yeah, I was thinking of maybe invoking that, because I think yeah, he this is sort of going through the well, at this stage, very, very rudimentary fundamentals of psychiatry, but yeah. And that brings it to a 10 in total.
Okay, so again, I will ask you if you want to put on the mask and turn that into a 12.
No, I think I'll stick with a 10 for now.
Okay, so on a 10, Mr. Johnson, who's the attendant that's been left with you, you get nothing out of Fig, but he brings you the possessions he arrived with, and what he does is he says he didn't want to part with this, sir. A book of nursery rhymes. All references to birds have been crossed out. Okay. Annie, what about you at Bethlem Hospital?
Yeah, okay. So I am gonna try, and I have the option to communicate with someone who I should not be able to communicate with. If I cast my rites of salt and smoke correctly. So is there anything nearby? I imagine there's lots of little skittering animals.
I'm going to ask Mr. Johnson if they have any rat traps about.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson will provide a rat, though he can't quite understand, sister, why you would need a rat.
I'm not asking you to understand, sir. I am merely asking you to provide.
Very well. And he goes away and comes back with a rat trap in which there is a kind of rat.
Mm-hmm. I take it from the trap, and I don't have any knives to hand, so I think I'm just going to bite it. Just gonna bare its neck and like. Does he see this?
Do you want him to see this?
I think he's probably seen worse.
Well, if you want to keep it secret, it's the day move.
Let's make the day move.
Okay. So, what are you afraid will happen?
I am afraid that he will see me chewing down on this rat and think that I should perhaps be behind one of these cells rather than on this side of it.
Yeah, if this was a night move, that would certainly be on the table. But I guess it's being removed from Bethlehem is probably where this might head. So yes. I think it's vitality to hide this action from him. Or have you got a better way of keeping him away from this?
Composure, maybe?
I was thinking presence to convince him to go off on another errand. I'm not sure
No,
how
I kind of-
composure works.
No, I kind of like the idea of doing it while he's there. So I'm just going to grab myself another d6. I seem to have lost one. How do I get another d6?
You will have to click a D6 button. The D6 at the top will.
There we go. Cool.
Oh, it was there and then it was gone.
Right. There we go. Right. So I have got. Oh dear, that is a 3.
And I think that we will see Annie Morrish and Dr. Weiss being bundled out of Bethlem Hospital, with Dr. Walker saying, "Weiss, it's simply unacceptable." Slam.
I'm gonna Janus Mass that.
Go on then. What do you want to put on?
Let's put on. Let's see. What does the Mask of the Future do?
Various things is the answer to that.
Okay. Do you feel up for narrating a scene showing that the coven has arrived?
I'm very happy to have the coven. Whether we'll get that done this week or whether we will open with the arrival of the coven in London.
Cool. Okay, the coven are turning up.
Okay, and therefore Johnson is distracted by some other patient down the corridor, allowing you to bite the neck out of this rat and then cast your rites of smoke and salt and smoke.
Can I do just a little thing where we see that, and then the reason that he is instead distracted is because of the machinations of the coven, and we see them doing some stuff like work, which then causes time to rewind.
Okay, no, fine. We
don't see who they are. We just like see
we will
hands.
see a woman banging, on the bars, and you and I know that next time we will see the coven do something involving that woman.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and I bite into the rat, and then I have to roll for that as well.
Roll plus sensitivity.
That's plus sensitivity, which is a much better shot, which is just as well. So that's 5 plus 2 is 7.
So this allows you to do what you do plus a complication.
Yes. So I'm going to choose to communicate with someone I should not be able to communicate with. So I'm going to sing back and forth in nursery rhymes with Mr. Fig and try and get some information out of him that way. And the complication is going to be, where's my move? I'm working on a very small laptop screen, sorry. The magic has a problematic side effect.
Okay, the problematic side effect is that in the next session, you will only be able to speak in verse. Now, clearly, that is not about you, Ollie, having to speak in verse, but you will take the condition only speaks in verse.
Okay,
which may be disadvantageous in certain circumstances. Yeah. If by all means, if Ollie wants to do that, that's fine. But I'm not expecting Ollie necessarily to speak everything in verse. But I think what you will get is in verse. He says. Because that is the challenge now. Can I come up with this versified? The shop, the basement of the shop. You'll find the clothing there, and it is red and red and red. You can have a heap of clothing discarded. The dominant color is red. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Great.
And I think, because again, otherwise I'm going to be going for another 30 minutes. I think that we have reached time. Do we have a couple of minutes to go over for a quick stars and wishes?
Sure.
Right. Let me start with Blake. Blake, any stars?
Um, yeah, no, I'll keep going blank whenever we get to these things.
Well, I'm not surprised. It's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning where you are. Do you want me to come back to you?
Yes, please.
Okay, that's fine. Let me go along to Leandro. Any stars?
So different tab. Yeah, I think our main star is to whenever Annie Morrish decides to screw impropriety and just, I'm just specifically that last bit of biting the rat right in the middle of the hospital. Just some beautiful display of I commune with forces of darkness. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
It's always lovely.
I'd endorse that
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you. David, any stars?
I really liked what everyone brought to the to everything, but specifically to the unseen. I thought that was really cool. I really liked all the creepy and interesting details that were brought into the cult there. I thought that was really interesting.
Is that one of your unseens?
No, that one isn't. That's one of Jason's. It's the secret game to players to guess which of them is. But yeah, no, I thought that was really fun. That was cool. Yeah, also, yeah, the buckets of blood from Annie. I really liked seeing. The flashbacks to Chambers' past as well, learning a bit more about them, and the scene with Rose in the library was just that was the perfect way for Rose doing research in the library to go. So awesome.
Yeah, let me just stress, you should now tick you sought to use violence to solve a problem. It didn't go terribly well, but that's by the by. Ollie, any stars?
It's lovely to play with David again. Hello. I don't think have we played together since we last played The Between?
I played in that game of when you were playtesting Quietus. But yes. I think that's the only time in the intervening period that we have. So yeah.
Yeah. So also lovely to have a like someone try and be rational in the midst of the rest of us doing all sorts of supernatural nonsense. Still very much enjoying everyone's characters, enjoying Chambers' resourcefulness and potential corruptness, and that's a nice scene of the guy behind with the pat on the back. Rose enjoying her being the dwarf of this group, where she's the strong one who gets constantly beaten up, and Alan as well. Great improvisations across the board and spinning of many plates, of which there are many.
Yeah, thank you for that. Blake, any stars?
Chambers gets shit done, and I'm glad she's part of the team.
Yeah, I mean the Factotum is pitched as capable. It's only capable because of the option to get all those advantage options with the informals and stuff. So keep invoking informals is my advice. All they can do is die. Sorry, I interrupted, Blake.
No, that's all good. Victor's kind of the male counterpart to Annie, in that they've got this nice acceptable surface, but you scratch a little bit and there's a psychopath under there. But it's all good because I have no moral high ground to criticize. It's all going well. It's an interesting bunch, but
it certainly is. Yeah,
we're getting stuff done, but we're not the good guys.
No, this is dark and dark and dark and dark. Yes, I enjoy Rose. I want you to take somebody by the scruff of the neck, okay? That's that, you know, and sooner or later that will go right for you. But yeah, I thank you for offering me the library. It seemed just too good an opportunity to miss.
Well, I didn't really have a rapport in session 1, so I didn't have a in to get back into their home. So I thought, well, maybe I can do some research and help with that instead, sort of thing.
Yeah, and you got a clue. What more do you want? Blood? Oh yeah, blood. Ollie, yeah, Annie is great. David, thanks for introducing us to Victor, who is indeed, you know, this calm, perfectly formed, but underneath there is a guy who wants to make a body out of people's parts. Yeah. Oh yeah, a finger pocketed. And yeah, Chambers is Action Woman. Chambers is James Bond in a skirt. Chambers is, you know, I expect to see Chambers scaling buildings soon. Great stuff. Wishes. Leandro, let me go to you first.
Yeah, I think I do want to have a moment with Dr. Weiss and flesh out that relationship. I forgot to highlight, I did love like the Rose's like vulnerable move with Chambers. In not contrast, but you know, good pairing with Sister Morrish. Also, just who cares what impropriety? I'm an American. I need meat right now. Let's just eat in the middle of the street. Sure. But yeah, no, my main wish is kind of flesh out a bit more of this. What's going on with Dr. Weiss?
Yeah, I think if we can try to tie up the James Street haunting, that will free you up to get back into cahoots, or properly into cahoots with Dr. Weiss. David, wishes?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback on that. Yeah, it'd be cool to get a proper scene with Chambers. I quite like the sort of assumed relationship going on between them at the minute. That's nice, but yeah, I would like to get a proper scene with them. I'm thinking maybe what might be quite a cool one, probably for the night phase next time, is maybe Weiss will drag Chambers around the pie shop and do some investigating there.
Yeah, no, well, I think that's in your gift, guys.
Yeah. Other than that, not any specific wishes beyond that. I'm just looking forward to seeing where we go. There are things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to another night scene and another unseen and all that. But yeah, no specific wishes for that.
Ollie, wishes for next time?
Yeah, I want to see Rose properly fucking lose it and properly transform. I want to get some unspeakable violence from Rose.
Yeah. I'm pushing hard that way. Sooner or later you're going to have to take the bait.
Yeah, I didn't want to get arrested because then I can't really help the rest of you. But yeah, you want violence?
But there's always the Janus mask. So even if you do get arrested,
exactly,
they know you didn't.
Yeah, exactly. The Janus, those masks are there. Masks of past and future are there to just get out of jail free. It gives me a lot of free reign in what I can throw at you. Blake, any wishes for next time?
Probably some sort of scene with the mother, because I don't think Rose has interacted with him much, but it doesn't necessarily have to be long or meaningful. It's just so we haven't had a sort of duet yet. So
yeah.
But other than that,
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say I'm totally up for as you are quite battered at the minute. If we want to do a scene like in the infirmary, that could be cool.
Yes, infirmary. I'd forgotten about that. Need to get that move into play.
More the same. It's all going well.
Okay, as my wish is to get Rose into a fight, and it's to try to keep my eye on the clock better. So I do apologize for that. Okay, I'm just going to stop the recording.